order. Go ahead. Roll call.
Eldon Larson. Rhonda Robertson.
Present.
Andrew Bushman.
Yes, ma'am.
Dayton Flake.
Here.
Karsten Flake.
I'm here. Go to the Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have any volunteers for the Pledge of Allegiance? I will.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a volunteer for the invocation.
I'll say it.
Who did that? The pledge.
Dayton.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity we have to meet. We thank you for this country we live in, blessings that we have in this town. We ask you at this time to please bless us and help us to be able to discuss one with another, figure out what is best to help this school district to grow, to be better, to help everybody that is part of it. We thank you for all our many blessings. Thank you very much.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Dayton.
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll second it. Andrew?
I think
I was going to ask that we rearrange one item on it, just because it's all the personnel is on the same item. So 5A, the last appointment on 5A is actually a teacher, and let me make sure I find it on this paper here.
I don't have it.
All right. So it's
Oh, I got one.
it's under personnel. So 5A, the last renewal is a seasonal skilled worker. That's a teacher, and if we could pull that out, we'd like to do that.
So we just wanted to delete that from the list?
So we'll make that 5A2. So we can make that 5A2.
We just need to separate that one
Yeah.
from the rest of the renewal. Right.
If the board is
Okay, I move that we accept the agenda with the change to 5A2 as discussed.
Andrew seconds it.
Okay.
we'll call for the vote. Myself, yes. Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Oh.
I move that we approve the minutes for May 10th as presented.
I'll second it. Any discussion? Call for the vote. Rhonda?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Okay. Superintendent's report?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, the school year has come to a close for summer break. Still have several things going on. Time of the year that kind of picks up for some classified staff with cleaning and maintenance and repairs and things of that nature. So I made a short list of some of the projects going on, some of the things I'm working on or overseeing here. Like we've had some solar panels that have been broken over, I think it's been more recently. We're waiting for a report on that, but we will be getting those replaced. And actually there were a couple open spaces, a few open spaces. We want to see if that would be a savings to the district if we added a few panels in there. So we're getting a quote on that. The preschool room that we had a good discussion about last month, I went out there, we talked about maybe getting a quote for design and stuff, and it was so packed with with things. I think before we even have an architect look at it, I think we better try and clean it out. And so we're going to put all those things in auction. It's mostly like computers and things of that nature. But it's hard to even visualize what, what that could be, I think, the way it is right now. So we are setting up an auction. I think we have one going for what is it, June 30th or July 1st. We have at least one, our bus, we're putting a bus on there. And then, we can add other things on there too. So usually, Terry Johnston organizes that with Steve's assistance. Standardized scores. So I did put together a short summary. I don't know if you want to, this was specifically for the board. I don't necessarily want this to go public because sometimes as sensitive information, like people can feel judged or whatever by these results, and they shouldn't, because a lot of factors go into testing. Some students don't try on a test. It's not as important, and some do, and you have a lot of factors. So I don't, you got to have the right perspective when you look at this, but this is just a short summary of the standardized tests only, assessments only, and just average general statements for those groups. So now if we want specific things, I can go into that, but from third graders to about ninth graders, where.
So are we doing okay?
Yeah, I think so, but not that we don't have some low areas. Like specific, and here I am.
Well, but
if we only have one teacher at that grade level, can,
okay, without going into specifics, you as a superintendent are addressing that, right?
Yeah, principals.
So we don't need to be specific and point at anyone. We just need your assurance that the problems have been identified and you are addressing it.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, it is accountability. So we want to make sure that we know what we're supposed to be teaching and we're looking at that and addressing it. So yeah, that's well said. That's what it is. I'm willing to review that with you guys as needed or as you would like. We can go through it. The back couple of pages on it are just examples of the low spots. Like it might say, for example, fourth grade low area is math, and it's operations and algebraic thinking. And for your convenience, I put on here what fourth grade algebraic thinking includes, like a couple of examples of it.
I don't want to read it. I'll fill it in.
So I would like to read that.
See there.
I don't know if I need a copy to take home with me or if you want me to come in and read it, but I would like to read that.
Okay, it's part of your board packet, and we got hard copies.
I don't have a packet.
But like I said, we could use parts of it to share with people, but just getting this mass produced out there, it would be dangerous. So I've asked even the principals not to do that, but because somebody might look at it and get the.
Are y'all taking Fridays off through the summer?
I've not taken every Friday off. A lot of times I'll work the mornings at least.
I'll just put in my
district
calendar
office
come
is
next
closed
week.
on Fridays.
And that's what is that called?
Score summary, the test score summary. We have some students that perform very well. It looks like they didn't miss any questions on different tests. But then we have some students that it would appear like they maybe didn't try. So, you got the wide range and everything in between, as you guys, I'm sure, would know. But anyway.
Well, I'll ask you later. I'm wondering how much of anything like that is associated with the COVID situation.
Yeah, a lot of it. It's a low year for everyone, and that's an important note. So to compare it with like other state averages. So, we came back a lot earlier than some schools. Some schools hardly came back at all. So it's a state average compared to our grade level average. Overall, if you were to do a composite, we were above the state average.
Above the state average?
Yeah, but not at every level and every test. Not at every level and every test.
But do we know this? You're talking the average state level, right? Not what it's been in the past or anything else.
Right now.
It's
And
so the same apples to apples this year, not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And one other important thing, So they're not assigning schools from last year's test data, A, B, C, D, or F, but they were about 3 years ago, and it's going to start again this upcoming school year. So schools, based on their performance of what you got a copy of here, their summary test scores, will get an A, B, C, D, or F.
And you don't know how ours rates compared until they,
This year they didn't do a formula.
oh, okay.
But, yeah. So typically the formula is about half growth and then 50% of your grade is determined on how many kids were proficient in each test. And the other 50% is how much they grew from the previous year test score to that year. So they'll be using this year's test scores to measure against growth for next year. And that's how we'll probably receive our letter. At each, we get junior high, high school, and elementary. So that is important, and that definitely makes people look at that, and there's a lot of judgment that goes along with that. We are working we're currently doing the summer camp, and that's been a great program. Got a lot of teachers and aides and classified helping with that. The students are going on trips. They went to Arizona, Flagstaff, Holbrook. They're going different places, trying to have fun activities to encourage it. But the focus is math and English in the day, and it's 4 hours a day. We receive funding for everything from food, transportation, and instructional salaries. So we're doing 4 hours a day, Monday through Thursday, for basically the month of June. So far, so good. About 60 kids involved in that. I put on here that we have a carpet cleaning machine coming. Want to use, that's actually a significant chunk of change there. And we're going to use ESSER funds for that. A lot of our carpet's old, and we really want to get that clean. Our current machine broke. Some shade structures is, we had talked about outdoor learning space. We're not going that far, but what we would like to do with ESSER funds again is provide some shade for the kids at lunch at the junior high, high school campus. It would address, we're having some problems with kids running around and hiding at lunch and putting trash and things, and we want to keep them in that courtyard area if possible. So this
Out by the pool?
no, the inside, the hallway, and the
Oh, okay.
that is the thinking. They want to try that, and we want to have shade and tables for them. So we're getting that lined out. Elementary.
And we're not using the cafeteria room? Is there not enough room for everybody? Why do we need another place?
They go in there, and a lot of them want to go outside and eat their lunch, I guess.
So they can smash in the corners, no one can sit.
Maybe that's why. Or they
do we
eat real
have
quick and then they go out.
Do we have someone monitoring them? I know, I know they're supposed to be young adults, but that doesn't mean they don't need supervision.
Yeah.
Especially on our property.
Yes, you're right, and we do. I think now our principals aren't here to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's hard for the supervisor or supervisors that we have to monitor the whole campus. Like they go out the front there and run around the auditorium, and he's over by the pool and didn't see him. They're behind the,
Mm-hmm.
got that. Or they go around the weight room when he's up by the office. So I think this is an effort to try and control some of that. But having some shade in
But
there
we're
will help that.
not saying that the kids have to stay on campus either, are we?
No.
So we're still gonna have them going wherever they want.
If they go home for lunch and come back before the bell rings,
If they go in the cafeteria, we know they're not going home for lunch. So,
yeah.
Those are the main ones you're concerned with. Okay.
but elementary playground equipment, well, we haven't purchased that. We haven't got all our quotes yet, but we're not going to redo the whole thing like we had talked about. I think we're going to start with some piecework, maybe doing some of the ones that are falling apart and that first, and then go from there. Flooring repairs and replacements, we're working on some of that. Air conditioning, adjacent ways funds for the bus parking area. There's the parking lot where the buses go in and out have some problems, so we're gonna, we have dipped into that adjacent ways. It's not very much, but it will help. We're doing some exterior painting. We're submitting an application for high school gym bleachers. We got an assessment done and a design done for that. We don't have the quote yet, and the SFB has verbally told us they would pay for that. So these new ones, the design is ADA compliant and it has the rail and everything. And a heat exchanger replacement at the elementary campus. What this is, this could be a high dollar item. Haven't received the quote. Probably will get it tomorrow. Even though it's called a plate heat exchanger, it does the cooling. So it's leaking right now, a pin leak at the elementary campus. And if we turn it off, it turns off all of the AC. So we're running it right now with that pinhole leak. Brad said we're losing 5 gallons a day. That's
The Freon?
no of water, loop water.
It's a water solution.
Water exchanger?
Yeah. So we're looking to get that replaced. Depending on how urgent it is, it may not be an SFB project for us. We have other bigger things working on, such as the high school. There was a concern about how part of the drip edge was installed, so we are holding off on finalizing with the contractor on that. I did hear from Mr. Miller that they had a worker up on the roof last week, and they didn't report of what was done to me or anybody yet, but the contractor did have a worker up there. But our inspectors are watching that closely and want to make sure it doesn't leak when they leave, if it's not, installed like we expected. I wanted to mention the Chromebooks that Jason has been working on. Steve's helped with the purchase of these things and these mobile carts they got. Right now, we're up to 2-to-1 computers for every student in our district, which is basically something to be proud of. Jason was very excited about that. A lot of Chromebooks, and he got some mobile carts on auction, and Dale helped him to go get those in Phoenix. And good teamwork there to save the district some money, and we're excited about that ratio of 2-to-1 computers per student. Along with others, and you can see in this hallway, it's got plenty of computers and things. They're lining out to take to all the rooms. Wanted to mention the elementary staff is working on reading training this summer, specifically this dyslexia training. It's there's a new state requirement, but other teachers have picked on to what is valuable and important for that training. So it's part of their plan now, their professional development plan, to do emergent reading training or this dyslexia training. And then I also wanted to mention about this dental screening plan that Mr. Mosier has lined out for next year, the elementary students with the county. Basically, they come and check the kids' mouths for cavities and things like that. It's no cost to us, as was told to me. So as soon as I receive something in writing, I'll definitely keep you guys informed.
Parents can opt out of
Yes,
it, right?
yes. Parents can opt out, definitely. And so we'll be in contact with them so they know everything about it. No surprises there with them. So that's all I have. I took more time than I usually do, but if you want to talk a little bit about scores or ask questions, please feel free to do so.
I had a question on your financial summary.
Okay.
The fiscal year ends at the end of this month, right?
Yes.
So, and I understand if you add all the numbers together, we're okay. You just have to transfer funds. Well, we went over 192,000 in the maintenance.
We haven't, when I did this, we hadn't transferred done the journal entry to bring in the cash carryover yet. No, I'm sorry. This particular thing, no, this was a different journal entry, sorry, that mixed up with that. This is a journal entry that the county did incorrectly. They did the wrong journal entry for our line of credit. I should have fixed it on this before I put this out. I didn't get that done, but our line of credit that funds our cash flow between tax, set the two tax payment times during the year. They booked it as an expenditure when we paid it back, and that was incorrect, and it got picked up in this report, but we've since corrected that. So, and that was about $900,000. So you want to take $900,000 out of those expenses. And I apologize for not catching that on the report.
And we don't even, those taxes go straight to the county. They don't come through us. So they collected the taxes and then didn't take them out of the expenses.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, they posted it wrong, and then we caught it, but they didn't get the journal entry done to fix it. And after this report, then like I said, I just didn't get it.
Can I get that noted on these so the next time I look at this, I don't get riled up ahead of time?
Yeah, maybe make that correction.
Or even if you just, hey, look, this item.
Highlight it and put it in highlighted.
Right.
We have caught this.
And I apologize. That was my fault for missing that. I normally try to catch those things, that I just didn't this time. So my bad. Sorry.
Okay. The only other thing I'd ask for this, just because I'd like it, because it'd make it simple. Could you add a total on the bottom of all that, to where it totals all those up, and then we could actually glance at it and see, like a lump sum, how much our budget is, how much we spent for the year encumbered, and then what's left over, and it just makes it to where I can look at it and know, yeah, we're going to have to do some, I don't know how you call it other than finagling and switch some funds around, but we're not as bad as the first line looks.
Sure.
So, yeah, we can get that done. I think that would be helpful. So, good. Yeah, so this is, well, it's not the last summary of the fiscal year, but we'll still correct it for our records, and then we'll get one for June 30th too, Steve.
Yep.
And we'll have to post on that. Okay, yeah, thank you, Mr. Bushman. Putting that out.
Any other questions, comments? I'm guessing there's not a call to the public. That's one of us signed up. I motion that we approve the consent agenda items. There's a long list of them, all the way from 4A to 4Q.
I second it.
Any questions, discussions?
I got a couple
Okay.
questions. What is this? I mean, we have the delegation of authority to hire. What's the state standard on that? What's the school board association, whatever they think they are? What's their opinion on some of that stuff? And what is our, and I should have figured all this out ahead of time, I apologize. What's our standard for hiring people and stuff like that?
So we have a whole policy on that with different standards, the certification requirements, things we need to do, reference checks. So our policy is kind of what drives it. But this specifically is, so like when I became superintendent, no one could start, period, or very rarely would start prior to board approval. But the fact that we only meet once a month, it causes issues like they need lifeguards and they hadn't been trained yet, or we were behind on planning, or something of an urgent nature. Let's say somebody resigned and only gave us 2 weeks notice. That would do it too. And then we have to have time to post for a new job and all this and get it hired. So this specific delegation to hire is only temporary. That you guys do the official hire, so they're not officially hired until you guys, the governing board, approve them. But you can authorize me to temporarily hire them pending your approval. But we don't do that with teachers, only with in situations where it's urgent for them to start prior to a board meeting. Sometimes boards will meet twice a month to kind of avoid this, and the voucher thing as well comes up. But so recently we've been ratifying a lot of folks and like hiring lifeguards in between, or for example, the elementary had their librarian was gone today, and they wanted to have someone start today prior to the board meeting. Work all day at the elementary library for the kids, and so I authorized that. They still have to have all their paperwork in, and I have to believe that you guys will approve them, or it doesn't.
If there's a doubt, then you don't do it.
Yeah,
If you're not sure that everything, all the I's are dotted and the
don't do that because
And we'll generally say on the agenda, it'll say ratification.
Yeah, I see it.
So you know, but yeah.
And that's in accordance with the state standards, basically. I mean, every school district's pulling something like this.
Most school districts do, that I've seen. You know, when you look at their board agendas, you'll see that on there, for the reasons that Brian, that Mr. Hill said.
Have we ever done a cost analysis on reimbursements for vehicle use?
yes. Well, we have one reimbursement we do for a maintenance coordinator, and Steve did an analysis of that, and I'm sure I still have it. It's been a few years, but the district, it actually saved us money to do the allowance instead of buying a new car. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't buy a new maintenance car, but it did save us money. In that case, the one that's on the agenda today, he wanted to have it was for convenience as well, for what benefited us. Win-win.
Yeah, I just want to know if we had done our due diligence and done a cost analysis on it and stuff like that. 'Cause
not recently, but I think we're coming out better.
did it like the year before you came on the board, I think.
Yeah, let's put it this way, that, as you know,
We've done it
cost of vehicles have gone up and up. This amount has never changed since the beginning, so.
don't tell them, man.
Well, maybe we.
He's not listening.
I know. We probably, in fairness, should look at that maybe.
So you're not doing the federal average with it?
There is a federal average for if we have an employee who takes their own car for a specific trip, or like a board member goes to a conference, there's a reimbursement rate.
Yeah.
So, and that's a federal average of 41.
It's a state.
State,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it fluctuates with the price of everything. I don't know, districts are different than the rest of the world.
Yeah, definitely. But no, those are good questions. So you're right to be concerned about the delegation of authority to hire. We can kind of rein that in a little bit, or whatever you guys. It's something to discuss, maybe. I mean, I'm open to discussing. This is for convenience for people like the principals, or you can see the people we ratify. Usually it's a lifeguard or a kid working concession stand that they had another kid drop out, and they can't open the concession stand without, if you want, I can call you or call the board president on each one,
I just want to make sure everything's
legal.
clear and good.
That's a good question. It is. I know they do it I've only worked here, as you know, you guys know me. I can look into that a little bit more. I think Steve might know other districts that work for that too.
Yeah, the board can delegate that out under, with certain conditions, and when this was first approved by the board, those, there were conditions, and just, like Brian, went through it, so we wouldn't do that as a routine. We wouldn't do it for everybody. If they can wait, if there's no reason they can't wait until the board meeting, we make them wait until the board meeting.
This is something our auditors would pick up on if it were illegal.
Right.
Yeah, so
they reviewed that.
Thank you, Steve.
What,
Of course.
What kind of guidelines do we have for approving early entry into kindergarten and first grade?
There's a policy for that as well, and I think we have an agenda item for that. And yeah, so basically it's I keep hit you guys with policy. I apologize.
Well, I have some concerns because I know there were some kids that started last year, and I can't officially I can't come to you and say, well, how did they do? But I knew the kids, and they had no business being in there. And I'm concerned that when we allow that to happen, that it causes a disruption and affects the other kids. And it's our teachers put up with enough. They don't need,
One more thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when mom and daddy just don't want to have to get a babysitter. They let the school be the babysitter.
And if that's the reason, that's definitely not a good one.
And I know of 2 kids that that's what happened with.
So
But it's coming up
Yeah.
later, right?
September 1st, they need to be 5 by then to go into kindergarten, and if not, it takes board approval. And not only board approval, but before it comes to you guys, we need a recommendation from the principal and the kids' education team, which would be the teacher, the parents, basically the principal, superintendent. In this case, the birthday it was close. The teacher tested the kid and liked the results. Parent is wanting it. Principal was on board. It seemed like everybody was in.
How did that kid do?
I'm talking about the one that's on the agenda to get in this year. So all I can say about
Previous?
they do that to prevent what you just said. So you have to approve them in kindergarten and then again in first grade, to prevent what you said.
There's that kid's report card.
Like I can see that.
Well,
Now you know why I don't have one.
yeah, why?
No, it's okay.
But
The scores are good.
Okay.
As far as this is, I mean, it doesn't say anything other than that, but looking at this, the scores are better than my kid did. So. Sorry, kid.
yeah, so we checked to see if that kindergarten are passing and good to go to first. And
Okay. Well, we're back to approving 4A through Q. And Karsten, it's up to you.
Is there any more questions, comments that we need? Myself, yes. Dayton? Yes. Andrew? Rhonda?
Yes.
I motion that we approve 5A1, employee assignment, employee renewals, employee resignation.
I'll second.
5A.
5A1.
How about 5A? Okay.
So we have the 1, and then we separated for the 2.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're on
Gotcha.
5A1.
I'm looking at 2 different pages here. I only did it on one.
You made the motion, is that what you said?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay. Do we have any,
Oh, I thought Dayton already.
Dayton already seconded.
Yeah,
it.
Dayton already did.
Well, and I'm lost. What's new?
does anybody have any comments, questions that need to be asked pertaining to that?
just to recap, there are several assignments, renewals, and resignations on this. The resignations are attached in the board packet. The funding or financial information is by the rationale on the agenda.
Okay. Call for the vote. Dayton?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Sorry. Yes.
Myself, yes.
I was getting that 5A2 ready to do the same thing.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, I motion that we approve 5A2, the renewal that was taken out.
Jim Stradling, seasonal skill worker for the summer.
For this summer?
That's what it is.
Okay, go ahead. I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, call for the vote. Dayton?
Whoa, we had no discussion on this.
Oh,
Whoa, I want to know why we're doing this.
okay. Discussion, question, sorry.
Just to help out with the maintenance, staff, he can do some, smaller carpentry projects or plumbing and things. And Mr. Miller will be his direct supervisor, and that's who made the request to me.
You already been doing it?
In previous summers, he has.
Oh, so it's not a ratification.
Yeah.
I just had to stay on my phone a little
Yeah,
longer.
that's a good question.
So it's just for the next 4 weeks?
Yeah. And it's usually not, sometimes it does exceed 10 hours, but I don't expect it will be much.
Dayton's first. Wait a minute. No,
Andrew.
Andrew's first.
Okay, are we ready to vote? Andrew?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Yes.
Myself, I abstained. Dayton?
Yes.
Okay. I motion that we approve the personnel appointments in 5B. Quite a list right there.
Yeah, we have quite a list of, appointments. These are people that basically already working for us in some capacity.
We need to second it if we're going to.
I'll second.
Okay.
And some of these, this is the personnel appointments, right?
Not all of them work for us. A lot of the people on this list do, but
And some of them are ratification. At least.
There's one that's written ratification on it.
Didn't we recently
That's the one that started today.
didn't we recently have another secretary, elementary secretary, that we approved?
Last school year.
Yawning coming,
I was like,
we're having a two now?
the job was split into 2 part-time positions.
Okay.
So it's actually, money, and it'll work out better for them.
So Rhiannon is still doing it plus?
Yeah.
Okay, so the elementary secretary positions are part-time?
Yes, so they split shifts. One covers the morning, then they have an over. And the thing that Mr. Mosier wanted is that overlap at lunchtime. And
Flexibility to schedule them to
Yeah.
do different things.
or somebody's out sick, then the other person could potentially work the full day. It just will help them with that coverage, and so that was his request. So what makes it saves us a little money is that they're as a part-time position, the benefits are less. So that's why.
Well, my concern is the one person did have a job. Did that change? I assume yes, or she wouldn't be available. Everybody that's down here is available for what we're approving them for. Okay?
can I ask a question that's probably not supposed to be asked?
No, you can ask it. I think it's legal as long as it's about somebody in here.
No, I wasn't. It's just, when they, and like I said, I want to, one of these days I'll come in here and figure out our hiring procedure so I understand it better. Do we, and like I said, it's probably not allowed to be asked, encourage in any way to get these people to actually invest in the community, not just in a job?
The short answer is no.
I mean,
Not
probably
really.
can't legally, but,
It happens. Just from my conversations with other people in education circles, I don't know if they use that as a deciding factor for the hire, but it can be asked by these small towns, like, are you planning on moving here? I've heard that happen from others.
Just because we need growth to get tax base, and if we can get them to,
Well, where are they gonna move, Mr. Landlord?
Preschool room? No.
yeah,
No,
I understand, but.
yeah, right now, I mean, it's my understanding we're at an all-time low on places to live.
I understand, and but it's still one of those, even if they can't do it, if it's something that they would like to do, it seems to me that if we get people that are more interested in actually being part of the community, we get them to stay longer. Not always the case.
He lives in Snowflake and he's stuck around.
It's not always
So
the
he's a good
case,
example.
but when you get with who I hire, if we get local, a lot quicker than somebody who's just popping in to take a stepping stone somewhere else. Not always the case, but it definitely helps our tax base.
Yeah, and they're more vested. I get what you're saying, and even though we don't have a process, that is something that crosses, I know, my mind and the principals. We always, because you're more vested because your reputation's on the line if you live here, and you want it, but it doesn't mean that somebody not from the community would necessarily be vested to it. So it's a factor, but yeah. So we do consider it. It's not formalized, and it's possible that we could have administration here that never crossed their mind, in the future. So maybe we want to put something in writing.
I just don't even know if that's a legal question.
But they can also, there is a housing shortage.
Yeah.
A lot of people could still bring their kids to our school as well, and that would also be something that helps, even if they do live somewhere else. And again, that might be a question that isn't on the legal side of it.
Yeah, well, we can hire somebody who's going to bring as many kids as his salary pays.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Sorry.
So is that
There we go again.
the questions? What?
Nothing, I'm picking it, the two of you.
Next.
So we call for the vote. Rhonda?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Dayton? Yes. Andrew?
Yes.
5C,
See,
personnel appointment additional.
are you moving that we do
I
that?
motion that we approve 5C personnel
I
appointment
second it.
additional. Any discussion?
Just because I'm curious, why is it additional?
That I think was because they're related to the board president.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Carry on.
If I remember right.
Works for me then.
Because somebody would have to abstain, I think.
Well, that's fine. It makes sense now.
We didn't know he wasn't going
I
to.
was just wondering why we're segregating.
So call for the vote. Andrew?
Yes.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Dayton?
Okay.
6, I motion that we approve proposed FY 2022-23 budget.
I'll second.
Are we approving it or reviewing it?
It should be.
Because if we have a hearing on the 12th.
You're approving the proposed budget.
Like the draft.
Okay. All right.
You're not approving the final.
Yeah, it says the, proposed in there.
Only if you read it.
Oh, well, it does say proposed.
Okay. Very good.
And Karsten, you first it, and who seconded it?
Dayton.
Is there a copy of the thing that's decided
Right here.
Right there by your.
I gave it to you.
of the agenda?
Yes. Well, I'm using it.
My computer went.
Here.
Yeah,
Take my copy and I'll draw on something else.
that, right there, see where your
Where we
thumb
are.
is? Yeah. Now I'm lost.
Okay.
I have to have it in writing because I don't trust computers anymore.
I always print a full packet.
Okay, we're on A,
I think I'm good now.
the
A.
proposed budget.
Yes. We're almost done, so.
Is there any discussion?
Is there any explanation?
I can go through
Okay.
with you. And just so you know too, the legislature has not voted on a budget, has not approved a budget yet, for the new fiscal year. And so, statewide schools have had to make some assumptions about what that.
And when
budget's gonna
should that, happen? When should that take place?
Well,
We don't
hopefully
know?
Or July 1st. But we don't know. I've not heard anything in the last few days about where they're at on that. So the assumptions that we were advised to make in our budget is that 2% inflationary increase for maintenance and operations, which this budget includes no increase for capital. Our classroom site fund, the amount per for people decreased by about 3.5% from last year to this year. So there may be some other funding, new funding that comes down the pike, but we don't know that yet, so that's not included here. So what happens is, typically then when they pass that budget, if there is something new, they'll also include some kind of language that allows us to revise our budget. So we may be coming back, I don't know, in September, potentially, to revise the budget again.
Elephant in the room.
Yeah.
What have we done about figuring fuel?
Oh, you took the fun out of my deal.
Huh?
Nothing. Because you took all the fun out. I was going to ask if you doubled the fuel amount.
Yeah, we've got a very healthy cash carryover we'll have for next year. We don't know what that exact amount is. It's an estimate at this point. It'll be about $600,000 to $700,000. So we figure we can absorb the increase.
But in the budget, have you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so this budget, the general budget limit is $5,752,621, and that's for that includes maintenance and operations. That is maintenance and operations, sorry, but it includes our cash carryover, and our override is included in that. The override is calculates out at $697,816 that generates. So, and it does include some cash carryover, but it was a very, very, very conservative estimate. It'll likely be higher once we revise our budget later in the year. So that general budget limit could go up by a few $100,000 before all said and done. Capital outlay, like I said, there was no increase in funding from the state. That will fluctuate. Other things that will cause that to fluctuate from year to year are our capital outlay cash carryover, which this year will be around $20,000 for capital. We also can transfer some from M&O on that budget each year. So we've got some transfer into there. So the amount of capital that we'll have available for next year will be pretty close to what it was last year.
And this district has done that before. We'll take some M&O and move it over to capital because of our high capital.
Yeah, and I did more for this coming year because of an accounting change from the state. What they're requiring now is for there's a new accounting pronouncement coming out that requires us to account for software and capital and not M&O. And so I moved $75,000 out of M&O into capital for this next year to help cover that. It's just shifting those costs from one fund to the other. The grants are not awarded yet for fiscal year 23. So unless we know that there's going to be a little bit of an increase or a decrease, we'll just carry the same amount over on this budget, and then we adjust it later. Same thing with all the other funds. Those budgets are based on what we expect our cash collections to be. If it goes up or down, then we adjust later in the year. So all that for right now is an estimate. So the process is, again, for the board to approve the proposed budget. Then what we do is we make that available for public review. We post it on our website and a link to the Department of Education. And people have until our July board meeting, so they have roughly a month to look that over, ask questions. They can come in and look at a copy of it here if they choose to. And then for the next board meeting, we'll have a public hearing where the public can comment on that budget, and then we would approve it at that next that next board meeting. And again, as you know from your own experience, then that budget will often be revised to at least once, sometimes 2 and 3 times during the year as conditions change, as funding changes, and it does change during the year for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is enrollment. If enrollment changes, then we have to make changes sometimes we have to revise our budget as well.
Thank
So
you.
that's the
Oh,
problem.
sorry.
No, I'm done.
I'm not.
Okay.
So, in this your figure, we're covering over $600,000 or something like that, roughly. A portion of that is that APS 250,000 or whatever they gave us.
No, that's, based on conversations we've had in the past year or two, couple of years as a board, that we're holding and accumulating, to help us for that, when that time comes, when our override goes away, to kind of help smooth that, that ramp.
Is that listed anywhere on the budget? Is it on any of these items? Or?
It is, it's, again, like I said, it's a very, very low estimate that we put in this version of the budget. It'll increase later, but it's on page, find it. Page 9 of 13, line 7B.
I
don't have 9 of 13.
They're 1 through 8.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Page 7, there's a number that board book assigned and a number that, okay, it's page 7 of 8, I'm sorry. 7 of 8, line 7, B. This is where that gets added into our revenue control limit. It adds into our override, and then the total at the bottom of the page is basically our M&O budget on this particular budget.
I'm confused. You said line 7 on 7 of 8?
Page 7 of 8.
Page 7 of 8, and it's line, okay, I've got notes all of my, it's 8C.
Okay.
177,000.
Budget balance carry forward,
Yeah.
$477,699.
Yeah, I
Now, is that the total of what we've received to this point? Or are we getting more, or what?
That's the total of what we will have left over this year we're in right now, when all's said and done, that we haven't spent out of our budget. We can carry it over to next year.
Okay,
And that's the one that we get really conservative with this budget, because we never know what's going to happen or what goofy things the legislature might do that might eat into that. But I expect that to be another probably $200,000
okay.
And that's without APS,
without APS.
without that 200 and insert fund.
Yep.
Can I ask, and I don't expect it right now, could we get a scenario where we think we would be when we could receive, for future planning, we got the override money figured in here. If we didn't have it, what would we be looking at? If we didn't have carryover and some of that, so we could get a harsh reality of where we'll be sitting once APS goes and if override doesn't pass.
What do you mean if the override doesn't pass?
The next one.
Like a next
Okay.
one.
Because
Well, I do want to, being you brought that up, I do want to share with y'all, I've had several people in the community tell me that they think we hoodwinked them because we had always done 10% and we put in there 15%, and I said, well, you should have read what you voted on. But that was just some feedback I got that I wanted to share with y'all.
Yeah, we hate that people feel that way. I mean, that's not like
That was not the intent at all.
I know when we talked about it, that was always something that was talked about, that this one is a 15% one.
Agree.
So,
Well,
But yes, that
would
is
be less than a 10% when APS seems. So, it was kind of, it was my decision to bring to the board to recommend that. And that's why I'm thinking about the future, trying to make preparations to have some carryover for when they leave, because I don't know if we'll be able to even request. I mean, you might not even want to ask for 15 or 10, or it could be any number below 15.
and I just want to get some stuff going in our head so we can start brainstorming everything.
Well, and we as a board and an administration need to really take stock and look at how many elderlies we have, myself included. I can't afford the taxes that I used to afford. And that is part of it.
And I don't think the next one, with the people I've talked to, it doesn't look like it'll pass as easy.
I agree. That's their attitude, what I just said. They feel like well, first it didn't pass, and then you added 5% more, and I'm like, excuse me? You should have been paying attention.
It passed with one of the highest rates in the state, because I compared it. And I don't like to hear that people don't like that, because here's the truth, in my opinion, and I'm going to advocate for the school, you know.
That's your job.
Yeah.
So we're glad you're doing it.
So, and I do know a little bit about other districts and other places. Our school works very well with the community when it comes to every facility, sharing every facility, trying to do community service. I mean, our classes, we have kids that go down to the food bank when they have a prep time or whatever, you know, all this service. So and we did consciously make an effort to try and help senior citizens with our service projects who don't have kids, because of realize the taxes. So I don't know if some of that is negativity, but then the board has lined all that out to happen, from Little League to church, civic organizations, the pool, things that people can utilize that don't have children. So that's what I like.
I just want y'all to be aware of what I've been made aware of.
Thank you, because it does help. Because I don't hear it all the time, or the people I associate don't. So thank you for that. It gets me thinking. And that's why if the board
I went to the food bank today, and I saw a bunch of kids, and I appreciated them being there. You know, but the bottom line is, I know of an elder that was in line and got out of line and left, and then didn't get any food bank. You know, it's like some people have this much patience.
Yeah. Well, whatever we can do to help the community, if it's within reason. But I was in a workshop where they were talking about this one town that the principals never opened their facility for the community to do things, and somehow they increased the principal's budget if he would rent out the facilities, make them available, and they were still having a hard time with this. So it was always that problem.
A perfect example is Founders Day. We use the old gym. We've always used the old gym for Founders Day. I'm saying we as a community, you know, and then there's usually other stuff going on. I mean, I know of a lot of stuff that goes on in our community on the school property.
And I just think if we can get ahead of the harsh realities, if it doesn't pass, I mean, it would be, in my mind, especially to get ahead of the horse now, if that's where we need to be, because you're going to have a hard time even convincing me to vote for it. I'll confess right now. But if we were to actually have a line on this for the next, when they did it, and say, okay, this is where our numbers would be without APS, NSER, and the override. These three things played effect to put us where we're at. You cross any one of those out, we're up a creek. And so instead of, at the end of it, trying to push it through.
And a good analogy is we have absolutely no control over the cost of fuel.
Yeah.
And look where it is, and it's affecting our school as much or more than it affects us as individuals.
And it's going to be harder for people to want to vote for a higher tax if they're tight.
I can tell you another thing that's probably going to affect us as much, if not more than fuel, is the minimum wage. Because, you know, it's based on inflation, so it's going to skyrocket.
Well, everything's going to get out of control.
Yeah.
So anybody that's retired on a fixed income, is going to have a hard time because they can't make up the difference.
Yeah.
We may not ask for an override again. So if we don't think, like, if the board can't support it, at least the majority of it, we shouldn't even request one.
I'm just saying we need to start
Thinking now.
getting the facts out and get us thinking on it.
Yeah, and I don't plan on being here. That's why I'm sharing this with you now.
I do really appreciate it.
I mean, that's not to say that I won't come and bend your ear, because you know I will. But with that said, not everybody's as outspoken as I am, and you know that.
No way. One thing they're still fighting about down there, I could have said this earlier, was and I signed on with some other superintendents and districts. increase the base level funding for students. So that formula per student would go up. There's a surplus down there. So they're trying to figure out, so that's a good bit of news. And actually, to answer Andrew's question, I think Steve has, I wouldn't be surprised if he had some of that information right off the top of his head, because he put it together for that town hall. And so our override alone was, you want to tell them what it was, or you want me to estimate?
The amount of it?
Yeah.
Well, for this coming year, it's almost $700,000. So,
Yeah, and that's
Per
what you
year.
said.
yeah.
But if we take that $700,000 out of the budget.
Yeah.
And so it's the harsh reality, which I want to be able to put out to people right now. If that 700,000, what are you going to take away?
When people say things like that to me, if I have a little cheat sheet, I can say, well, let me just let me pull this up on my phone so I can tell you some numbers.
Sure.
You see, I mean, and I think that's what Andrew's getting at,
How
isn't
many-
it,
how
Andrew?
many
Is so
teachers
we
is
can.
that on average?
And he
5,
already
6?
has, well, not override, but just with the ESSER funds, probably 2 that we were looking to go.
And the ESSER funds is just something that, as far as I'm concerned, we're going to enjoy it, but it's gone.
Temporary, yeah.
You know, the override is something the school has been living on ever since the government did redistribution of wealth with APS's taxes. When they did the school equalization taxes and we didn't get all the,
I know. I thought it was funny the way you tried so hard to be politically correct.
I was politically correct. But it just, to me, even to convince myself, it's gonna, if we can start getting some harsh realities out with each budget, without this is where we sit.
Well, here's some other good news that, I mean, not going to fix everything, but the solar panels, what was the estimate? Like $300,000 a year in funds that's going to start generating for us in about the same time. That power, maybe 3 years after, if it's paid off. And it produces the same. And electricity goes up and may generate more revenue for us.
Yeah, it's a better offset, but
So that could help save a little bit if the override doesn't pass in the future.
Well, and even without, I mean, that's just something we need those figures to be able to tell people. Because they've noticed the solar panels.
Yeah, I made a note of that. We'll work on that. Great.
It's just so, I mean, I need something that I can put right here, and so do, we all do. We all carry our phones. We don't really need a cheat sheet per se, because we'll lose that. But if we have it on our phones where we can say, well, let me explain something to you.
we'll lose $700,000 right now. Whose neck are we gonna take out? We didn't have it.
That's a bunch of staff.
Well,
And
school's gone, football program's gone, all these things are gone. Now we're gonna start cutting staff.
Carryover wouldn't be as much, so you figure that into it too.
And once you go to cutting all that stuff, you start losing our influx from Holbrook and Winslow and start losing some of our kids from here because they're going to start going there because they have those programs.
We need to get more people to move to town and invest in Joe City. Back to hiring, no. It's all a circle. Sorry.
I vote yes. Do you even remember where we're at?
Rhonda,
Yes.
myself, yes. Dayton? Yes. Andrew?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I motion that we discuss. Are we looking at anything other than discussing on?
It says discussion and possible approval.
Well, yeah, I could say it now or after you guys make a motion or whatever.
Well, do you want me to motion to just discuss it or approve? Are we even close to approve?
You can approve it and we could change it. If we change it, it's gonna have to come back to you guys if the administration wants to change it.
Or we can approve it as is.
Yeah.
Okay. So I motion that we discuss and possibly approve the Joseph City Student Handbook and Discipline Plan.
As presented.
Yes.
I'll second it.
And what Mr. Flake, him and I were talking earlier, and there are a few concerns about this. Principal was unavailable the past several days. So, and that's fine. There's not really a rush. We could do this in July. But what the attachment is the procedures for the high school and the discipline plan. The elementary follows that as well. But, there are some things we might want to look at, such as making sure tobacco use and vaping match and the discipline plan. That's the biggest thing that I noticed.
I thought it was pretty much the same thing.
Well, the one request that he was making was that vaping go from the minimum 9 days to 4 days. So, and that's fine with me.
And are the state laws for minors the same on both?
It's illegal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're not, it can't do even tobacco or vaping. So, but I don't know if we called the sheriff's department on vaping, if they would ticket them. I don't.
You call them if they smoke, chew?
No, I didn't as a principal. Parents, I told parents, and I would usually let them know that it's illegal. But we haven't been doing, I guess if it was and I have talked to Eric about that. But anyway, so the biggest thing is I think we probably need to match those or get them a little closer. So, and then what it says, a party to, possession of, that's harsher than actually doing the tobacco. The tobacco is currently at 2 days. Where's the tobacco at the bottom? Okay.
Well, I don't know, you probably don't either. We probably need Eric to tell us this. But I think at this point, the vaping is more of a problem than tobacco.
That's what he told me, yeah.
And
That's what, if we look back at the
They can vape tobacco, I guess, so they vape.
yeah, they can. It's kind of like, you can do a lot of things.
So that's the problem. If they're vaping tobacco, we want to make sure it matches so you're not.
So
is Eric going to take a whiff to figure out which one it is?
Yeah. Sorry. He has to have reasonable suspicion of what it is. And that's been part of the problem. Trying to get one kid say they were vaping one thing maybe and somebody else say they were vaping something else. That's what part of the problem is. If it's marijuana, we'll call the police or.
You go with the worst one and hit everybody with it.
I'm with her, and
I know that we had one knock some other ones off, and he didn't get as much time off as the other one
Or you think
for vaping at the high school.
For telling on the other kids? Or
Yeah.
you got a plea bargain.
Yeah, I'd have to look at it.
They were all offered the same deal.
But a lot of times with discipline, it's hard for me to speak because I don't know on it, but it can be progressive. If they have a record, it could be a little worse or something, but I'd have to look at that specific case. It should be, we try hard to be consistent so we don't make people too upset at us.
And I just don't want to see us lighten anything. I feel sorry for anybody who gets involved in it. It's just not fun, but I'd rather them get beat the heck out of in high school than in the rest of the world. As far as there is a proper place and there isn't a proper place. You don't vape at school. That's all there is to it. So don't lessen the load, tighten it up, and
The only less punishment on the whole recommendation of the plan and everything is the 4-day vaping. So we were pretty much considering it a 9-day thing on here. But when you look at it, like I said, that's why Mr. Flake was bringing it up. You got tobacco.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is this is a proposal, but you are looking at making some changes and we will have final say later on.
Yeah.
So I suggest we table it.
Yeah.
Can we just say let's table it?
Absolutely.
Okay, I move that we table it.
I second it. It kind of becomes policy. It does become, not kind of, it becomes policy once you prove it. And, I think Andrew was asking like, when does it need to be completed? Now, I think
You have to print it, don't
they
you?
printed some of these already. However, that doesn't, like I told Mr. Miller, that doesn't mean, like, we can change these and have, additional papers added or an addendum.
Or you can even do those, like, the labels over what's in there.
So that shouldn't drive, not making corrections that we think we should make.
So call for the vote to table it. Myself, yes. Rhonda?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Dayton?
Yes.
Ooh, look at you going backwards and everything.
Trying to confuse you.
Didn't work.
Discussion items. I have a discussion item. I went to the school board meeting in Flagstaff, and we all got plaques with our names on them, awarded for training. And the school board got one. Not because I did anything. It wasn't me. We went through training, and that's what got us those. That's when they gave us. I was all excited. I walked in, and the lady's like, "So you guys got an award. I need to give it to you." I didn't believe her. I thought she was joking because we've joked before. But anyway,
What training did you get?
Here's Andrew's. Boardsmanship, weren't
I got the boardsmanship. Bring it on, boy.
we had the gentleman here.
Oh, that
right
guy.
when you-
Oh, yeah, okay.
And then here's the one.
Tell him next time not to do this and use the money and give us the credit. Sorry.
Well, it was a sacrifice of your time to do this.
I mean, if you want to hang it up here, but
All of it is. It's all a sacrifice of our time.
Right.
Even going to the post office. Because we get to talk about it down
Or anywhere else.
Exactly. The grocery store, all kinds, Hobby Lobby the other day.
Flagstaff, huh?
I run into as many people at Flag as I do over in Winslow and Joe City.
Is there any other discussion items that we need to
yeah.
look at?
The only other thing I want to say is in light of that stinking Texas shooting and stuff like that, I just hope we're all reviewing everything. I want to make sure board and administrations have done enough to cover their bases. We need to reevaluate all health and safety issues. Not just guns are what everybody freaks out about, but I think we have just as many health and safety issues, whether it be in the wood shop, the welding shop, or down the hall. We need to watch it all because every time something goes wrong, the school board gets yelled at first. Well, I guess superintendent
Yeah, I feel that.
all the time. So. But she gets yelled at Hobby Lobby.
Everywhere I go, people holler at me.
But I just hope that's something that we're,
Don't do that.
I'm not one that really, on the gun aspect, but health and safety.
So yeah, absolutely. We've been thinking, and the ASBA attorneys are all over the legal aspects of allowing teachers to be armed. They're talking about our policy that's coming out. And Mr. Flake has some good ideas on some things. My understanding of that Texas thing too was that they have one point of entry, which we have, and this, somebody propped the door.
Yeah, it wasn't locked. The guy, that was just a perfect example of what not to do.
And our training, too, it might make people feel a little bit better, is they don't, because I've seen them when they come here, they don't wait for anything. When they have they call them active killer because it could be any weapon, they immediately go in. They don't wait for SWAT. So it used to be like what those guys did over there. They waited for SWAT and specialists. Now it's like whoever gets there first is supposed to go get the guy. So Arizona, the way we've been trained is they're coming in. They don't wait. But if they see me holding a gun,
They're gonna go after you.
So that's just something to remember, or any teacher. So
I won't be coming to help.
I will.
that's,
If I get shot saving a kid, I'll take it. I can go talk to the Lord, fix some problems.
Yeah. Because there's not somebody up there doing it already. I think I motion that we close the meeting. Oh,
Yeah, sorry. On upcoming events, we need to have on our agenda that the board set that public hearing for the budget. So if you would please, make a motion to set you can see it on your,
I move that we set a public hearing for the July 12th meeting at 6, and then we will, go to regular meeting
immediately following.
immediately after.
Isn't that what it said on
I thought
6A?
that's what it said.
It is. I'll second it though. See why,
That's B.
there's a second.
Okay.
Okay. Who are you gonna call? Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters?
Myself, yes. Rhonda?
Yes.
Andrew? Sure. Dayton?
Yes.
I motion that we adjourn the meeting, the time being 7:15.
I second it.
Call for the vote. Andrew?
Sure.
Dayton?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Rhonda?
Yes.